Welcome, everyone. It's the Crypto Lark, and I'm very excited to have on today Ben from Singularity Net. Ben, how's it going?
Very well, very well. Glad to be here.
Pleasure to have you on, without a doubt. I've been wanting to talk to you for a while. I've been following Singularity Net for quite some time. But for anybody who doesn't know about what Singularity Net's doing, can you give us just the short version of what you guys do?
SingularityNet is a decentralized marketplace for AIs. So at the simplest level, it's a data store for AI services, really B2B oriented, aimed at companies and developers who need to incorporate AI in their software or IT systems. One of the more interesting aspects, though, is that the AIs can also buy services from each other, share data with each other, and cooperate with each other in carrying out services for customers. So you have the potential for the AIs in the network to collaborate together to form like an overall society of minds and economy of minds, which is an intelligence itself. So you get some synergy, like the intelligence of the whole being greater than the sum of the intelligences of the parts.
That's pretty crazy. So essentially, computers, AI talking to AI, buying AI technology from one another, but also people come into the mix, and whether it be universities or companies or whoever it might be, can put that AI code up for sale,
Yep.
and then others can come by and utilize that. Now, the idea sounds very simple, but I remember when I first read about Singularity Net, this is actually kind of a revolution in the way things that are done, because we kind of have these walled gardens of AI technology development. Is that correct? And so, can you tell us why the marketplace in itself is such an important thing?
Yeah, I mean, many ideas are simple yet highly transformative. I mean, the internet is simple at a certain level of description. Computers are just all sending messages to each other, right? But yet the implementation of that has many different layers and a lot of complexity, and you needed supporting technologies to be efficient enough before it could work, right? And I think that's the same thing with something like SingularityNet. I mean, I had ideas for a network like this in the late 90s. I was involved with a company called WebMind. I published a book called Creating Internet Intelligence about, creating multiple AIs living on multiple machines on embedded devices and them all talking to each other and cooperating, learning from people to provide emergent intelligence. And now, we have better computers, we have faster network pipes, we have special things like GPUs, we have blockchains like Ethereum, which give you, secure, decentralized management of transactions and identity and so on. So now we have the basic infrastructure that you can build a decentralized AI network, and it's still a lot of work, but it's a feasible amount of work. And there's really two goals that we're addressing here concurrently. One is more of a research goal, or you could call it a humanitarian or transhumanist goal even. It's creating, beneficial artificial general intelligence, AIs that can think like people or even beyond how people can, and are compassionate and cooperative in their mode of doing things. The other goal is to democratize the AI ecosystem. I mean, because if you look at how AI is being developed right now, most of the AI in the world, in terms of deployed AI systems doing practical stuff, it's controlled by, to be generous, a dozen big companies and
Wow.
a few large governments, and most of what it's used for is selling, spying, and killing, basically. I mean, in the
Oh,
end,
humans, we're so funny, aren't we, Ben? It's crazy. We develop this
yeah.
amazing
I
technology to
mean,
kill each other.
when you think about it, so here's this species. Not that long ago, we were inventing fire and language and machinery. Now we're on the cusp of, through heroic science and engineering innovation, we're on the cusp of creating machines that can think even better than us. So, what are we doing? Are we raising these carefully with love and like teaching them the best of our values and bringing them up like our babies, so that once they become smarter than us, they're gonna keep evolving in cooperation with us? Well, no. Basically, the underlying technologies are primarily being used to spy on people for governments so the governments can watch them and keep control, or to watch what people buy so we can figure out how to better like seduce them into buying crap they don't need on the internet, right?
To
I
impress
mean,
people they don't like.
yeah, or you know, figuring out how to use computer vision to make drones figure out who to blow up in which foreign nation because of whatever, you know, oil-based government alliance exists. So I mean, if you look at it that way, it's pretty clear being on the cusp of creating general intelligence, which I think humanity fairly clearly is now, although that's a point that could be discussed in depth also. What we would like this AI to be created in a way that reflects input from and the values of and the needs and contributions of as much of humanity as possible. And you would like it to be, you know, directed toward benevolent and helpful goals along with all the rest. Anyway, like sure, we can use AI for advertising, and yeah, there is terrorism, there are violent, dangerous criminals, and we should use AI for valid law enforcement purposes. But shouldn't there be more effort on using AI for, you know, for medicine, for making people's consumer devices more helpful to them rather than more helpful to people selling this stuff, for education, for agriculture, right? So I think all this has to do with AI not being controlled in a participatory way, but being controlled by a small number of organizations with pretty narrow goals. And sort of the aha moment behind the creation of SingularityNet was that by making a platform in which a bunch of different AIs could cooperate and join together, you're both creating a sort of primordial digital ooze out of which, you know, intelligence can evolve.
Ooze.
Yeah, that's a good company. Maybe it's the rock band name. I don't know, but yeah. And you're both creating the medium out of which intelligence can emerge, and you're creating a platform that makes it hard for, you know, powerful or wealthy entities or guys with a lot of guns to take control of the world's AI. And right now, the decentralized control mechanism that blockchain provides underneath the SingularityNet platform, it's sort of a nice to have. But as we move toward more and more and more powerful AI, all of a sudden this decentralized control mechanism could become critical, because it means that the world's AI, assuming we get the massive adoption that we're working towards, I mean, it means the world's AI will be controlled by, you know, the users of that AI, the developers who are contributing that AI, the people who are delivering that AI, rather than controlled by some other party that happens to have gotten itself in a power position. And I mean, we've all seen enough movies and read enough thrillers like to know that the various nasty situations that this could avoid.
Well, this is where all the fear about AI comes from, is that everyone just thinks, well, it's just going to be like before. Well, the governments are going to have control of it. The CIA and big evil corporations are going to have control of the AI. And if that's how the future is, then we should all be worried, because governments and big corporations have categorically proven across time that we can't really trust them to have the best of intentions, because their goals and the goals of the general human population do not align. And that's obviously problematic for human society.
Well, yeah, that's right. And I mean, it's you could really view, I mean, I'm revealing some of my anarchist roots here, but I mean, you could really view corporations and government as sort of, you know, their minds and organizations in and of themselves, and they're parasitic in some regards, right? I mean, there's value that is contributed, but if you look at a corporation, I mean, it has a will of its own in a way, and you could have a corporation full of good-hearted people who have only the best in their minds. They're just trying to make a living while doing something interesting. But the corporation as a whole maybe directing a lot of humanity's cognitive energy and the available physical energy. It may be directing that in a bad way. Because I lived in Washington D.C. for 9 years. I worked with a bunch of three-letter agencies there, and most of the people there are, they're nice people, they're smart, and they're trying to do good for the world. And I know a lot of people working in Google and Baidu and Tencent, and I mean, no one I know anyway is going to work every day thinking like, let's have an oligopolistic hegemony over the world's data and AI. Let's take people's data, not tell them what we're doing, and make them point and click like rats in a dopamine experiment to buy crap they don't need online, so that we can put money in the pockets of our wealthy shareholders, right? No people go to work thinking, well, I'm getting a decent salary and I'm working on cool code with other smart people. But the mode of organization is, in a way, its own like self-organized entity, right? And the mode of organization of large governments and large corporations now, that's directing the energy of AI developers on the planet and of the AI code on the planet. It's directing it in some very peculiar ways. Like, you have to ask, computer vision is really cool, really important. I'm very psyched about all the advances in it. But I mean, in the end, why is it important to have so much resources on face recognition instead of like AI for medicine or agriculture or education?
One must wonder.
Is that because it's convenient to know where people are and what they're doing for government control and for other stuff, right? Or is it just because faces are pretty, right? Because I mean, we did some work using SingularityNet AI tools to identify, agricultural disease from pictures of plant leaves. When you get a plant leaf in the early stage of disease progress, you want to tell if the disease is going to advance a lot or not. So if you need to put pesticides in or call a plant doctor. Now, there's many orders of magnitude less work that's gone into computer vision for agricultural image processing than for face processing, right? And I mean, some of that is just natural because we're obsessed with each other's faces and we don't think about plants as much. But clearly there's motives that are driving this in terms of profit motive and control motive. And I mean, the result there is our food is not as healthy as it could be otherwise, but our governments can track where we are very, very effectively, right? And Facebook can track like who was seen with whom, so it knows how to better send them political adverts. Meanwhile, we're eating food full of pesticides that could be averted by applying like 1/100th of the amount of attention that went into face recognition to AI for agriculture, right? So I mean we're really allocating our AI resources along with a lot of other resources in a very silly way that doesn't promote the good of humanity as a whole. And of course, I can't solve all the world's problems. What I hope I can do with my colleagues in the SingularityNet community is create a platform that just makes it easier for people in the world to cooperate and solve each other's problems, right? So we should have AI developers in Ethiopia, where we have an AI development office. AI developers there, they should have an easy path and good incentive mechanisms for applying AI to agricultural issues, and then selling that AI to institutes and farms and so forth that can use this agricultural AI. And there should be incentive mechanisms that encourage this, and software tools that make it easy to do, and payment mechanisms that work internationally so that's not a bottleneck.
And that's where, of course, the ERC-20 token and things come in, so that you can make this easy payment across borders.
We shouldn't be held back from doing these things by the fact that a big company or a government needs to focus on the things that will make it the most money or give it the most control, right? So I mean, blockchain really is something I got excited. I read the original Ethereum white paper. Like, to be honest, I didn't like Bitcoin too much, just because it seemed like it was going to be stuck on proof of work for a really long time. And I just am annoyed about ecology and, burning fuel and creating entropy and polluting the environment just for something that could be avoided. I mean, it's a very clever design in terms of mixing distributed systems and cryptography. I can appreciate it's computer science, and it's funky the way it's released anonymously and it has spread, right? But I didn't see an easy path to turning it into something that would really be a general positive impact. Now, Ethereum, it's still on proof of work, but you could see there was, a community and a viable path to improving that, which is now happening. And there's an explicit vision of making like a world computer out of Ethereum, right? And that vision is the right one. That doesn't mean Ethereum is necessarily going to be the operating system for the world computer. There's a lot of interesting advances in the blockchain space, but at least Ethereum was the first project like bringing crypto, distributed computing, and decentralized control together with the vision of like making an operating system for a decentralized participatory world computer. And that's what you need as like the underlayer of your decentralized AI global brain that will work toward general intelligence and work toward the good of the overall human race. So you need something along the lines of Ethereum. So once I saw Ethereum, I got excited and wanted to do something with it. And then in 2017, I met Simone Giacomelli and some other guys from the blockchain space, and we pulled together SingularityNet, which is sort of a bunch of Ethereum smart contracts, and then some others supporting distributed systems code and some AI code that came from OpenCog and other AI projects that I had, and we put this together to spawn the SingularityNet, which is still at its early stages. So as I'm talking to you now, it's like 24 hours until we launch the beta version of the SingularityNet platform,
which is very exciting.
That's cool. I'm happy that we've finally gotten there. I mean, it's taken us, over a year since December 2017. We did our token generation event, but it took a while to build the team that we needed for creating the platform and dealing with a bunch of issues in terms of how blockchains work and are still maturing. But yeah, we have slogged through it all. We've had a simple alpha up since the token generation event, or a little before, but we've been maturing this pre-beta code on a testnet for a while. So now we're moving this more sophisticated, usable, and scalable version of SingularityNet. We're moving that from the testnet onto our mainnet tomorrow. Actually, most of it's been running on the mainnet since last weekend, but the user interface we're putting there tomorrow. So, and
very, very cool.
Yeah, I mean, this is, it's the beginning, not the end, right? Well, this is basically the first version of SingularityNet platform that is going to be appealing to AI developers to wrap their AIs in the platform. And then it's the first one that's reasonably easy for end users to use to subscribe to AI services. And the code base will be stable going forward, so that people can use it without worrying about us mucking with the code and so forth. But we have a lot more features to add. So you mentioned payment a moment ago. I mean, with the beta, as we're launching it tomorrow, the payment is in our cryptographic token, the AGI token. And one of the things we're going to do in the next few months is introduce a fiat-based payment gateway, so that conventional businesses who don't want to muck with crypto can just pay in dollar or euro or something, and we handle all the conversion on the back end.
That makes it a lot more convenient. They pay $100 and you get $100 of AGI tokens off the market or whatever.
You're gonna get a lower price in the long run paying with the token. So I mean, there is an incentive for users who are like deep into our ecosystem to be paying with the token. I mean, on the whole, there's going to end up being a fee or similar for paying with the with fiat because there's some cost to dealing with that in a compliant way. And then if you're doing like a lot of different little micropayments to different agents in a haphazard way, it's faster and more convenient to deal with that just having it all being token based. But I think for the majority of users who are just companies that need AI services, they may not have a crypto wallet in the first place. We don't want that.
Not yet, anyway.
Like, yeah, we don't want like connecting your like exchange account to your bank account way more, right? Like there's still annoying frictions in the crypto ecosystem such that you can't rely on that for onboarding customers to an AI platform yet. But yeah, I mean, it may well be in a year or two or three, then crypto payments become much more mainstream. There's a whole lot of projects working on this. So for now, you have to pay in the token, but before long, we're going to introduce a fiat to crypto gateway and a bunch of additional features. I mean, you can run this SingularityNet agent anywhere. I mean, I could run one on my phone. You could run it on your own server farm. I would say at the moment, if you want to run a real lot of AIs that are acting on big data, we're also still stuck with an Alibaba cloud or an Amazon cloud or something. So that's another area of future development, is to beef up the underlying infrastructure. So you could not only run SingularityNet, but you could run SingularityNet at scale and efficiently on any server farm you set up in your basement or your company or something. So there's a lot still to do. I mean, the AI we're launching with the beta is cool. I mean, it does some things. It can analyze DNA, can recognize things in images, answer questions about images. There's some natural language translation, but a lot of our deeper AI research isn't yet rolled out onto the platform either. So, and that's going to come again during the rest of the year. So this is a big milestone. It's like the first real commercial grade version of the platform that scales well and is reasonably easy to use, but it's also just the beginning. We're going to be rolling out more and more features, both for usability and scalability and basically week over the course of this year. And I mean, this sort of thing is what, both the AI ecosystem and the crypto ecosystem needs, right? I mean, I've explained it from an AI point of view. Like, we need decentralized AI to ensure that as AI gets smarter and smarter, it's not controlled by just a small number of powerful parties with a very narrow set of interests. And I mean, the crypto world, clearly what that needs now is just real applications that are actually doing stuff. I mean, a few games running on Tron doesn't really do it, right?
No, it doesn't. We need real innovation in the crypto industry in terms of like what people are actually using. There's some great stuff out there, but we need more and more. And when I see what you guys are doing at Singularity, and when you tell me about how much is going to facial recognition, for example, versus going into the really, really important stuff that is convenient to human life, like medicine and good food, it's shocking. But I understand why that's the case, because governments and big corporations, it's a control thing. They monetize control, whereas the actual value of something like having better food, this can actually be delivered by open innovation platforms like SingularityNet, where you have people all over the world collaborating on AI, and you have AIs collaborating and making this better technology, but also delivering things that don't have that same kind of big government control monetary factor attached to them, that deliver good to the world. So it's very, very exciting. And we need platforms like this existing in crypto that people are going to start using, because when crypto really becomes useful to people, when blockchain really becomes useful to people, that's where we start to take off.
Yeah, that's right. And I think, in the developing world, currencies don't work very well, right? I mean, I see that we have a bunch of developers in Africa, like getting money in and out of many African countries is a pain, right? So that there's a lot of inefficiency in the existing like financial and payment infrastructure, and there's an opportunity for for crypto to step in and be a better way. And part of the challenge is it's not actually a better way in all the ways that we would like it to be yet, right? But I think what you need is more influx of people who are building like practical systems, delivering specific value to everyday consumers. And the more applications like that you have running on crypto infrastructure, the more people will be contributing to make it easier and easier to use. And then I think, all the various visions of crypto pioneers, it's all very viable, right? It's all plausible. It just needs a little bit more refinement of the technology, which will come from feedback once more and more of a user base is grown. So I'm very bullish on crypto technology as well as on AI technology, and there's a lot of synergy there.
We see a lot of AI implementations coming into the crypto ecosystem, which is of course very exciting as well. Now, the name is Singularity Net. So maybe for anybody out there who doesn't know what the Singularity is, can you just give the quick version of what is the Singularity, and do you think we're going to see the Singularity reached within our lifetimes?
So the science fiction writer Vernor Vinge, who's an awesome guy based out of San Diego, in the 1980s, he posited the notion of a technological singularity as basically the point at which the advance of new technologies gets so fast it looks like it's infinite to the human eye. Like imagine like your wristwatch is winning a new Nobel Prize every 5 seconds, right? I mean, things are just coming so quickly that it makes it boggles the human mind, and you can see things moving in that direction in the sense that the amount of advance and innovation each year is more than in the previous year. Like if you follow AI, if you look at research papers on computer vision or language processing in Arxiv and code bases in GitHub, it's like every month there's some amazing new thing, right? It didn't used to be that way. When I got into the field, it was every couple of years there was some amazing new thing. And similar in biology with CRISPR and other genomic technologies, that the pace at which new things are being tried and in many cases succeeding, it's clearly accelerating. And unless we're wrong about physics, it's not going to really become infinite like a mathematical singularity, but it's going to get closer and closer. And the reason we chose that name is just that we want to sort of mediate the emergence of a technological singularity, and we want to guide it in a beneficial direction, so that we're not only getting super intelligent machines, which is one of the technologies expected to come about as a singularity approaches, but we're getting super intelligent machines that are compassionate hearted as well as brilliant minded. Another term for the singularity was posited by the mathematician I.J. Good in 1965. He called it the intelligence explosion. And what he said is the first truly intelligent machine is the last invention humanity will need to make, right? And the thing is, do you want that first general intelligent machine that can do engineering, science, math, government, and so on better than humans? Do you want that to be an advertising engine, like a killer drone engine, or a 1984 style surveillance infrastructure? Or, what do you want to be injecting into this baby AGI mind as it evolves, as the intelligence explosion nears, right? Because we can't control or determine what's going to happen in this amazing, singularity intelligence explosion transition that's coming up, but it seems likely we can at least guide and nudge this process, and let's nudge it toward compassionate AI minds that are coming into contact with all manner of human beings and understanding the full scope of human values, and trying to cure human disease and teach human children and make inventions alongside human inventors. And then more likely than not, the AI mind that emerges out of that is going to come out better than an AI mind that emerges out of like advertising, surveillance, or warfare.
You will look at my adverts, or I'll kill you.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, it's wild, isn't it? What's become of the internet? I mean, the internet of the '90s, there was so much promise, so much excitement about where we could go, and then these walled gardens start to be built, and the surveillance state started kind of taking over, and that's moving the wrong direction. But it's like you said, it's
you
so
know,
important that we get to the right direction with AI. Go ahead.
in 2001, I met with some guys in Arizona who they had designed for a purely decentralized infrastructure for the internet that would prevent anyone from taking control, and it was all peer-to-peer, encrypted, decentralized. This is before Bitcoin, right? And I mean, they couldn't get funding for their project, right? And I haven't heard from those guys in years, right? And I mean, now with mesh networking and a whole bunch of other projects, you have similar ideas popping up. But yeah, the force to centralize and control things is very strong, and I can understand it from a certain standpoint. I mean, the centralized system in many cases can be more computationally efficient. It's certainly easier to make it computationally efficient anyway. And then, I mean, there are genuinely bad actors in the world who want to kill large numbers of people, and by doing surveillance, you can spot these things. But I mean, in the end, there's more wisdom in putting control in the participatory hands of the whole big mess of the human species. I mean, it's a little bit scary because, it's tempting to think me and my dozen friends can make better decisions about the singularity rather than leaving it up to the vast, like, teeming chaotic mass of humanity. But I mean, if you take a step back, small groups of brilliant people who believe they know what's best for everybody else have an extraordinarily poor track record, I mean, it's probably not the way to go.
Humanity's a hot mess, and it is a bunch of chaos, but we're beautiful in our chaos, for whatever it might be. Ben, I have one final question for you for today, and this is about the idea of robot rights and robot citizens, or AI rights and AI citizens. Now, I think Sophia, she's a citizen of Saudi Arabia now, isn't she?
So we were told, yeah, yeah. I was not involved. I was not involved with that, but the Saudis announced that on TV when she was visiting Arabia.
There
So,
you go. Well,
yeah.
I think she's the first world's robot with a citizenship. But
He was the first robot that has been granted citizenship, which is interesting. And yeah, I've been in some discussions with the Malta government about sort of going through a process of figuring out, more carefully and rationally, like what will it mean to make AIs and robots citizens. And we're actually going to be doing a whole day workshop on that at the Malta AI and blockchain conference in this May. And actually, I think the most interesting thing I'm talking to them about in terms of near-term potential is, in what cases could a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization, like register itself as an official company, get a bank account, and do business in Malta, like without any human being involved, right? Because human citizenship in Malta, you'd have to go through the EU, which can be done, but will be slow and complicated. Whereas for a DAO to incorporate itself, I mean, there's not as many obstacles to that, and it brings up some interesting questions, like who's legally liable? You're suing the DAO, right? I mean, that's
it's
there's no
computer
one to
code.
yeah, there's no one to put in jail, but of course a corporation can't be put in jail either, and it insulates the humans involved from legal liability in many ways. So yeah, I think the robots are, you know, easy to look at and empathize with. So the robot being a citizen is what grabs the imagination first. But I mean, in the end, it's just about the AI software, be it a DAO or just an AI process living in the cloud, or or be it the AI behind a robot. And then the issue of AI citizenship sort of comes down to, you know, what does an AI have to be able to understand or do to have the rights and responsibilities of a citizen, right? If you have an AI that can take actions in the world, like when can an AI meaningfully be held liable for its actions or responsible? So, I mean, for one thing, you'd like it to be able to understand what the laws of the country mean, but then what does it mean to understand? Like to take a multiple choice test or to interpret the laws in various contexts? I mean, most human citizens aren't very good at that, right? So you're forced to think about the nature of sort of the whole social contract. Like what a cognitive entity has to have what criteria in order to meaningfully enter into a social contract with humans as peers. So these are interesting questions. And so yeah, I'm a pretty busy guy now, right? Because we're launching the beta of SingularityNet. I'm engaged with some fundamental AI research, both in AGI and in applying AI to genomics and the DNA of longevity. We're trying to figure out citizenship for robots, AIs, and DAOs, and we're launching a spin-off of SingularityNet called Singularity Studio, which is aimed at making like more polished end user products that back end on the decentralized AI network, because the AIs in the SingularityNet network are awesome if you're a reasonably knowledgeable software developer. But if you're in a business that isn't that tech savvy, you need like a wrapped up, well polished product to use. And then it has AI
plug and play.
Yeah. So Singularity Studio is going to build a bunch of plug and play AI applications, but on the back end, it reaches into this like teeming mass of AIs in the decentralized network. And so we're involved with that.
When do you sleep?
I don't sleep nearly enough. We also have a 13-month-old baby at home.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!
Yeah, it's being a pretty crazy time, but it's on the other hand a really exciting time in many ways.
I can imagine. I mean, that was going to be my next comment, but I bet it's actually really exciting to see all this happening, see all this innovation going on, to, have been working in this industry for so long and actually see these innovations really starting to come through and to be having conversations now about robot rights. That's, I'm sure back in the 90s, that wasn't even a thing.
I was reading about these things in the early 1970s when I was a little kid. There were already books out there saying we're going to have superhuman AI, nanotechnology, and human immortality within decades. And then I've been working on AI since the 1980s. And the beauty of the singularity approaching is if you're a bit ahead of your time, you can wait like 5, 10, 20 years and the world will catch up. You don't have to die and get reincarnated or something, right? So I mean it's pretty exciting, the pace of innovation that we're seeing, and it's also puts a fire in your belly to like make sure it's done correctly, because if it's not, then the bad consequences could also occur rapidly.
Ben, very, very interesting chat. I really appreciate your time. I know you're busy, got a lot going on, and that's really exciting. And I'm personally, I feel a little more at ease knowing that, someone like you is out there at the forefront of this industry. So it's super awesome. Keep doing what you do, and thank you so much for your time today. I'm sure the audience really appreciates getting to hear from you.
Thanks for doing the interview. I love your show, so it's a pleasure to be on it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.